When talking about Python code, if I say we changed X, there are two different things that I might mean. Let's talk about the two different types of change in Python. Let's say we have two variables that point to the same value. Remember that variables in Python are pointers. That means that two variables can point to the same object. That's actually what we've done here. Let's change the object that the variable b points to. If we append a number to the list that b points to, we'll see that the length of b is now 5. What's the length of a now? We appended an item to b and its length grew. Has a grown also? Does it have 5 items in it? Or does it still have 4 items in it? A also has 5 items. This happened because when we assigned b to a, we pointed two variables to the same object. So changing that object will change the value that both variables point to. Tuples, numbers, and strings cannot be changed after they've been created, but lists, dictionaries, and sets can be. Objects that can be changed are called mutable, and the act of changing one of those objects is called a mutation. So when we append to the list that b points to, we change that list. But we saw that change reflected in a because the variables a and b both happen to point to the same list. Currently, a and b both point to the same object. Let's say we change the value of b with an assignment statement. There are now only 3 items in b, but how many items are there in a? Are there 5 items as there were before, or are there only 3 items now? What's your guess? The list A still has 5 items in it. A is unchanged. The variables a and b originally pointed to the same list. But then we assigned the variable b to a new object. That didn't affect a at all. Our a variable still points to the original list. Python has 2 distinct types of change. Assignment changes a variable. That is, it changes which object a variable points to. Mutation changes an object, which any number of variables may be pointing to. So we can change variables through an assignment, and we can change the objects that those variables point to through a mutation. When I say we changed X, I could mean 2 very different things. I might mean that we mutated the object that X currently points to, or I might mean that we assigned X to a new object, leaving whatever object it might have pointed to before unchanged. Mutations change objects, while assignments change variables. That is, they change which object a variable points to.